I'm Maurice Davis, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through how to. I'm going to be walking you through the website types and the platforms that you can build your websites on. I'm also going to be sharing with you some things that you want to consider, and then helping you determine what the best platform is for you. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the platform that I use. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We'll walk through this together so you can get a good idea of what all this looks like. All right, so websites and platforms. If you know someone that you believe this can be helpful for, please share this with them. The goal is to make having a website easier and more accessible for small business owners, freelancers, consultants, uh, and free us from the need of like relying on a designer or web developer to build our websites or put up something really quickly. This is not me saying that you should never hire folks. I know how to build my own websites, and at times I hire people too, but this will allow you to have the ability so that you're not reliant on someone else to do what you need for your business. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about website types. We're going to go through some of the main website types. And then I'm going to share with you after I kind of talk about the individual types, and I'll talk about what that really means for you long term. So, why it matters. So, different website types serve various business goals, and the purposes are different. And so, we want to make sure that we're choosing the right one to match the needs of our business. And if you pick the wrong one, the wrong type, it could mean either long-term success or long-term failure for your business. Now, I will caveat that with picking the right or wrong type doesn't mean your business is going to fall apart, but what it does mean is that you're going to spend a ton of time, energy, and effort into building it. And if you build the wrong thing or you have someone make the wrong thing for you, then your website won't be able to do the things that you need it to do. And I'll talk about some of that here in just a second. But let's talk about the first type. And this is really like business websites. These are used to showcase your business services, contact information. Some may also call this like a brochure website. Um, and we can say these are like essential for establishing your online presence and just some credibility. We have gotten to a place where a lot of customers almost expect you to have an online presence, right? If you say your business exists and they go looking for it and they can't find it, that's going to feel odd, especially as building websites and having social media accounts and all this stuff is getting easier and easier to do. It's becoming more and more of an expectation that that you have these items, kind of these checkbox things. The next one is e-commerce websites. So these are designed to sell products um, and services online, and I'll talk a little bit about that here when we get to the end. But these include features like product listings, shopping carts, and payment gateways. And if you're not familiar with what a payment gateway is, it's just your ability to be able to put your payment info in there and then be able to take the payment. Shopping carts allow you to put multiple items into, aka the cart. You see these when you're on like Amazon's website, you're experiencing a shopping cart when you hit add to cart, and then you experience the payment gateway when you actually go to pay. So, as a consumer, we experience all these items all the time. But when we start thinking about like, what am I going to build for my website, then we have to know, like, all right, I want to be able to list my products, whether that be physical, digital, or AKA my service that people can purchase right on my website and check out, right? Then we have portfolio websites. So these are really fantastic for displaying your work, putting projects up, or like talking about your skills. And these are really great if you're an artist, maybe a professional that's looking to attract clients or employees. Then we have blog websites. So these focus on sharing articles, news, or insights with an audience. Really great way of building your authority or credibility in a space when you get an opportunity to share your point of view. I talked about in a previous video that the value of having a website is ownership. And so while you can do this article, news, insight creation on other platforms, you don't own it. And so those platforms can decide to take it down. But if you do it on your own website, then those are available essentially forever, as long as you're willing to pay the hosting costs, which again we talked about in previous video what hosting was. If you missed that, feel free to check out the other videos so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. And if you're not familiar with some of the language that I'm using, you're going to want to check out the terminology video where I talk about some of like the 35 most common terms. This is really useful for building your personal brand. Again, that credibility. I have something to say. Then we have landing pages. And in a previous lesson, I shared that a landing page, in the technical definition, is the page that someone lands on when they've done a search or they've been sent to from social media or whatever. But again, for our purposes, when we talk about landing pages, we're talking about this definition here, the single page sites designed for a specific marketing purpose, right? And so these are designed to increase conversion rate, right? And have a clear call to action. Remember, call to action, that's what I want you to do. Now, while I've broken these up into like specific categories, most of the time, a website will be an amalgamation or a mixture of multiples, right? So the website that we will build together is actually going to be a combination of a blog website, a portfolio website, and landing pages, right? So this is kind of what we're going to create, a hybrid of the three, and we might even say kind of some business website, right? Um, the website I'm going to show you how to build will not have any sort of like payment gateway. That gets a that becomes a little bit more work, and not that it's anything wrong with it, but when we're trying to build a page relatively quickly and easily, that just requires some more technical understanding, and we'll talk about that here in just a second, and even get into maybe what you would want to use instead if you're like, hey, I need them to be able to like buy my service online without talking to me, right? All right, so let's talk about some website platforms. The first one and most popular is WordPress. And so again, this is the most popular CMS or content management system, highly customizable, and it's suitable for various website types, sizes, and businesses. So the pros of this is that it's highly flexible. Just about anything that you want to build, you can build on a WordPress website. It has a huge community. And what that means for you is that if there's a problem, somebody has experienced it, and there's probably someone that has created a video about it, they've created an article about it, or it's on a forum and they're talking about it. So you can troubleshoot these things relatively easily and with minimal to no cost, on your end, depending on the level of technical acumen required to fix it. It's thousands of plugins and themes, and if you're not familiar with what a plugin is, it just adds functionality to the website. What this means is that like whatever project you think you want to approach and whatever thing you need your website to do, there's probably a tool that will do it, right? And I can't say that for every other platform that we're going to get into, because a lot of them are a lot younger, or they're just not designed to do certain things that those customers were not, that product was not made for that customer in mind. So here's the downside. It does require more maintenance. Um, Unlike some of the other platforms that I'm going to share with you here in a little bit, this one does require you to kind of be hands-on with the maintenance, updating, and just checking to make sure everything is up to date. Some of the other platforms do that for you automatically, and so if you want to be more hands-off, this is not the right one for you, right? The other issue is there is a bit of a learning curve. Um, it's not as easy as some of the others, and I'll share with you of the ones that I'll kind of go through, the one that I think is the easiest to use, and requires the lowest learning curve. But I will say the steeper the learning curve typically means the more ability you have to scale it or to grow with it. And so while this one has probably the largest learning curve, it also once you kind of learned it, you have a skill that it's just there, right? The next one is Wix. So this one is really user friendly, drag and drop website builder, we're not going to get into what that really means. As I get into the course later on, I'll talk more about drag and drop website builder. Um, Here's the pro: easy to use, no coding required, has some really great templates that don't have that same learning curve, right? So this is the pro of something like this. You could very minimal training. It's popular enough that there are tons of videos, um, and you could jump into it right now, and you probably could figure out what you want to build relatively easily. Here's the downside though. It has limited customization when compared to WordPress. There's stuff that you will not be able to do inside of the basic the basic Wix platform. It's also more expensive for some of the advanced features. WordPress, you kind of a la carte, you can add what you want to add, and the cost is typically pretty minimal depending on the different plugins or the different templates that you want. Cost is usually pretty minimal, but with Wix, as you start adding things and wanting access to stuff, the cost does go up relatively quickly. Okay. The next one is Squarespace. So this is like an all-in-one. Um, you can get some really nice e-commerce stuff going on in here. It's the design's usually pretty easy. It integrates pretty well with other tools. And so the pros are the themes, the templates are pretty clean. Uh, it does have integrated features, and the support is pretty solid. I don't use Squarespace, so I can't give you like a recommendation around the support, but I will say like it's known for having pretty good support. The con is not very flexible at all, at least in my opinion. And then there is additional cost if you want to be able to use the e-commerce platform. Okay. Uh, and then the next one is Spotify. So this is the leading e-commerce platform for online stores. If you're like, I want to be able to transact and I want the easiest tool to use, but I want the best tool to transact business online, this is probably going to be it, right? So easy to set up, excellent e-commerce features, secure, reliable. It is the leading platform for a reason. Here's the downside: monthly fees can be pretty astronomical. Um, there are some additional transaction fees that you may not have to deal with if you go with something else. And I would say limited customization if you're going like I like their platform, but I'm not necessarily like an e-commerce site. It doesn't have the to me, it doesn't have the best when it comes to like more advanced features that you can get when you use something else. All right. So how do we choose the right platform for our business? The first one is we have to assess our needs. So what does our business actually need? What is the primary purpose? So I talked about before that most websites are going to be some sort of like combination amalgamation. How we determine what the right tool is to determine like what is the primary purpose of our website and what is the thing we're going to be doing the most, right? So, for example, if I was going to be writing articles, doing videos, and sharing that stuff, the primary purpose of my website is actually a blog. Everything else is secondary. That was my true objective. Maybe I was going to start a podcast, whatever. So the primary thing is blogging. So I want to make sure that I have a platform that is going to allow me to be able to blog and scale my blog. I may be a freelancer that has services that I'm going to sell, but that wasn't the primary purpose of my website. We can flip that on the head and say, you know what? I want to sell shoes that I make and I'm going to make them and then post them up, but people are going to buy them online. The primary purpose of my website is for people to be able to buy things online. That is an e-commerce driven purpose, and we want to make sure that we're getting a tool that allows us to do that and will allow us to scale that. The next one that we want to consider is like our technical skill and willingness to learn. So while you are able to hire other people, you have to recognize that like the higher the technical skill, the more it's going to cost for you to be able to hire somebody because they have a higher level of acumen around whatever that is, right? So if we want to build a website from scratch and code everything because we have specialized needs, the technical skill on that is super high versus if we maybe do Squarespace, which said it was easy to use, yada, 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 right? Technical skills a lot lower. So we can hire somebody that has less skill and we probably can learn it relatively quickly. So this needs to be a consideration. The next one is your budget. Each one of these tools that we talked about, the platforms, has a different startup cost, right? Some of them you can get a website set up, doesn't cost you anything. Um, but you're not able to like have a non it's free but it's branded, right? They put their name all over it and the world knows that you're using a free site, but maybe that's enough for you to begin with because you got like no money and you need your first couple sales in order to like fund the website. I don't know, but how much you can spend on the initial setup and the ongoing expense is a serious question that we have to ask. It's part of the reason why I choose the platform that I choose, and again, I'll share that with you here in just a little bit. Scalability and future growth. This to me is oftentimes overlooked as far as like the importance. Um, if you choose your platform today and you only think about your needs today, then what may happen is um, you will have a platform that works for you right now, but in 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, you'll go through this entire process all over again. And so, one of the things that I highly recommend for with folks is like, hey, if this is a serious thing for you, you really plan to like give this business a go, make sure you pick something that you can scale with at least for the next 2 to 3 years. You do not want to be trying to change platforms all the time. Okay. All right. Customization and flexibility. We want to make sure there's a balance between ease of use and the ability to customize. One of the most frustrating things I will say as a business owner is like when I first start, I may not care as much about how a widget looks, or how a section of my website looks, or the ability to change colors of a specific piece of text. As I become more sophisticated, my business grows. Um, I get a little more particular. These things are going to potentially be something that I care about. It also is like if I have the ability to customize, it probably means that this platform I'm able to scale with it. So just some stuff that you want to consider. Those are the primary points that I look at when I'm deciding which platform to use. I'm going to tell you my preference here in just a second. That doesn't mean that this is what you should pick, but if you're following along in the course and you're like, hey, I just want to do what you're doing, and I think the website that you're going to create, which I'll show you a wireframe here later on as we get through the content. Um, my preference is WordPress, and I'll share with you why. I think that WordPress, for the cost, is the best platform that small business owners can build on. And the reason I say that is because there's not a single thing that you want to do that you cannot accomplish on a WordPress site that I have found. I've not found anything that I want to do that I cannot accomplish. It has the benefit of allowing not needing coding. There's enough plugins that I can add in the functionality. uh, the large community means that if I want to be able to accomplish something, somebody's probably had that issue before, so I can go out and find them. But it has it's customizable to the point where I can integrate coding, right? So if I have something that I'm not finding a tool that can do it, I probably can code over it and create the thing that I want. And so to me, that's super unique in a platform. Some of the others do it, but not, again, they don't have the level of flexibility. And truthfully, like if we're just being real here, if you really wanted to go crazy, you could create a plugin that adds the functionality that you want. So there's lots of ways that you can customize a WordPress website. So that's why it's my preference. Um, in future videos, we're going to be talking about picking your hosting. That video is going to be a lot shorter, but I did want to let you know that's what's coming up. So hey, feel free to continue going along. I hope you found this video helpful. Outside of that, stay out here, one of y'all.